I thought I was building a stable life. I didn't know I was part of someone else's plan. My name is Daniel Brooks. I am 37 years old. I am sharing this story because I once made a silent choice. I did not argue. I did not protest. I only stayed quiet. And that quiet decision stayed with me for years. At that time, my life was small and steady. Every morning I woke up at 6. I boiled water and poured it into a plain white cup with a small crack near the handle. I sat alone at my kitchen counter. I checked my banking app. I checked my inbox. I checked the weather. Every day felt copied from the day before. I worked as a records clerk in a small company. I organised files. I replied to short messages. I greeted co-workers with a polite smile. When the clock hit 5, I walked home. I hated simple food. I went to bed early. My life was peaceful, but it was also empty. I was married back then. Her name was Sophie Bennett. On paper, she was my wife. In reality, she felt like someone renting space in my life. We lived in the same house. We shared a last name. But that was all. We did not argue loudly. We did not laugh much either. We lived beside each other like strangers waiting in the same room. We met through a colleague at work. Our conversations were short and practical. Sophie spoke about schedules. She spoke about future plans. She spoke about security. She rarely spoke about emotions. I ignored that at first. I was lonely. I wanted something different. When she asked if I would marry her, she said it calmly. She said it made sense. She said we could support each other. I agreed. There was no great love. There was no deep passion. There was need. I needed connection. She needed something else. I never asked what that something was. I told myself feelings would grow with time. I convinced myself that stability was enough. After the wedding, nothing really changed. Sophie remained polite. She remained distant. She spent long hours on her phone. She travelled alone often. She asked detailed questions about finances, documents, and timelines. It felt strange. But I stayed silent. I told myself this was normal. I told myself I was overthinking. Her mother visited frequently. Her name was Margaret Bennett. Margaret was observant. She spoke softly but watched everything. When she looked at me, I felt studied. Not judged, not comforted, just observed. She asked about my job. She asked about my health. She never asked if I was happy. At home, Sophie and I followed clear rules, separate bank accounts, shared bills, planned schedules. We sometimes ate at the same table. We slept in the same bed, but there was always space between us. Our hands rarely touched. Our eyes did not linger. It felt organised. It also felt hollow. A year passed. I began waking with a weight in my chest. I stared at the ceiling at night. There was a dull ache inside me, one I could not name. One evening, I tried to talk. "Are you happy?" I asked her. She looked at me calmly. "Happiness is temporary," she said. "Security is permanent." I nodded. I said nothing more. Then one night, I returned home earlier than usual. Sophie was in the living room speaking on the phone. She did not notice me. Her voice was low, careful. She mentioned dates. She mentioned documents. She mentioned separation. My body froze. She laughed softly. It was not warm. When she saw me standing there, she ended the call quickly. She smiled and said it was just a friend. I pretended to believe her. After that, I began noticing things. Folders arranged carefully, dates circled on calendars, forms waiting for my signature. She encouraged me to keep every financial record clean and updated. Slowly, the truth formed in my mind. This marriage had a purpose. And it was not love. I felt foolish. I felt like a piece in someone else's game. But still, I stayed quiet. I went to work. I made my morning tea. I smiled at co-workers. Inside, I felt invisible. One afternoon, Margaret came over while Sophie was out. She sat across from me at the table. She held her cup in both hands. She said my name gently. "Daniel," she said, "you are a good man." I waited. "You were never meant to be her partner." My throat tightened. She told me she understood from the beginning. She knew why Sophie married me. She knew there was an end date from the start. She said she stayed silent because her daughter made her own choices. Then she looked at me carefully. "You were selected," she said. "Selected." The word hurt more than anything else. Not loved, not chosen for who I was, selected for convenience. I asked her what I should do. She said nothing. She stood up slowly. She placed a steady hand on my shoulder. "You deserve something real," she said. Then she left. That evening I sat alone in the quiet house. The ticking clock sounded louder than ever. I realized something important. The biggest mistake was not hers, it was mine. I stayed because staying was easier than speaking. When Sophie returned home, I did not avoid her. I looked at her directly. "I know," I said. My voice did not shake. She did not deny it. She did not cry. She simply sighed. She said it was practical. She said I agreed. She said everything was legal. For the first time, I did not hide from the conversation. We spoke calmly about facts, about dates, about procedures. The divorce happened quietly. No shouting, no drama, only signatures and official stamps. Sophie packed her things. She walked out without looking back. Margaret later sent a short message wishing me peace. I did not respond. I did not feel anger anymore. Only closure. After everything ended, my life returned to silence. But it was a different silence. I still woke early. I still made tea. I still went to work. But I felt present. I felt the floor under my feet. I felt the air on my skin. I felt my own breathing. In the evenings, I started reading again. I took slow walks after work. I noticed small details, sunlight on walls, footsteps on pavement, wind through trees. These things mattered now. Sometimes I thought about Sophie. I did not hate her. I saw her clearly. And I saw myself clearly too. I saw a man who avoided conflict because he feared being alone. I did not blame him. I understood him. Months later, I met someone new. We spoke casually. We shared a small laugh. This time I moved slowly. If something felt wrong, I stepped back. If something felt right, I stayed. I was no longer afraid of solitude. Looking back, I understand something simple. I was not a failure as a husband. She was not evil. We were simply wrong for each other. And I was not honest with myself. Now my life is not perfect. But it is truthful. And truth feels lighter than silence. It feels like standing firmly in your own place. It feels like breathing freely. That is how I live now. Quietly, but fully.